Hi. You have to work with the robot, and the first problem you face is to get in contact with the robot, and there's a lot of tasks that need to be done before you can do any real programming for the competition. So here on the floor behind me there's a robot, Melina, and we would like to get in contact with that. And we do that over the network. The Raspberry Pi has got Wi-Fi, so we'll do that. But and they will initially be set up so that they contact DTU, a wireless network. But if you try to use it somewhere else, then of course the DTU network is most likely not available. So what do? I put a camera on top of it to show what's on the small display. And I've got it here, and this is probably what you will see. You can see I've got lots of charge, 12.4 volts. It's quite cool, 49 degrees Celsius in the kernel. But below this line there should be the IP address of the robot, so you can use that to get in contact with it. And I have also got here the GUI, the graphical user interface that we use to get in contact with the robot on the low level. That's the application we need to use for, especially for calibrating the robot and the robot sensors. And here on the left there's also this network setting, and we need to set up the IP address. But right now the robot hasn't got an IP address, so we can't really do that. So what do? Well, the only option is to use a cable. So I will connect it with a cable. I've got a nice network cable here. There's I think a short network cable in the box with the robot. Around. That's one end, and the other end I'll put into my PC, and then these two computers should get in contact. Hopefully that'll be the case. And now you can see on the small display that it now says 169.254.148.62, and that will be different from time to time. And this is a negotiation between my laptop here and the robot when we have a cable between those two. And they will, the first two numbers, 169 and 254, they will be the same, but there's a lot of possibilities in here. And we can look at what IP the computer has got. So I'm not that familiar with Windows, but I know a command prompt. I'm a Linux guy, so I like to use a command prompt. If you probably know Windows better than I do, and there's a lot of other possibilities. But there is an application in Windows called ipconfig. And when I use that, I can see I have got an IP address. My laptop is also on the Wi-Fi network, but that's not the important one. The important one is this one, 169.254.156.35. So you can see the last two numbers here are different from the robot, but they can talk together. The network's masks say that the last two digits is open for the network, so this should be fine. So it means that I will try ping it. 169.254. What was it? 148.62. And I can get a reply from the robot. and it's fairly fast, an average 13 milliseconds. So that's good. So now we can get in contact with the robot, and I can type it in here in the GUI. 169.254.148.62 and connect, and it will now say that I'm in contact. It shows green when there is a connection, and I'm in contact with Melina. Battery voltage 12.4, and that's the same it says on the small display, and it has now been turned on for 800 seconds. So now I got in contact with it, but I would like to, if you are on a private network, or you're at your home, or anyone with an access point where you would like the robot to be able to contact that, then we could do that. We need to get in contact or change the configuration on the robot, but we already have a command line here, and we use SSH. Well, you could use Putty, P-U-T-T-Y. That's a small application that needs to be installed, which is good. It has an SSH connection possibility, and I could type it in here and we'll get in contact with it. If you prefer that, you could do that, but you could also do it manually here from the command line. So I could say SSH, and we'll log in as the person called local, and we need an ampersand, there it is, and then 169.254. I keep remember 148.62. So now I'm now trying to log in to that robot, and I'll say yes if I want to continue. And there's a password, and the password is GRENEN. The password is also available on the course homepage. And now you can see I have got a new command prompt, and now I have a command prompt on the robot on the Linux operating system on the Raspberry Pi. And here I could see which files have I got, ls, and there is a number of directories. If I say ls-l, I get them with dates, and there's some green ones or blue ones, and some white ones, and the white ones are files, and the blue ones are directories, and the other brighter blue-green ones is links to the blue directory that's listed afterwards. This is not where we have the configuration. We have the configuration in a file called VPA supplicant, and if we go there, we need an editor to do that, and now we are operating on the robot. I will use an editor that's good with a terminal. So I'll start by saying sudo, and sudo means the super user is doing something. So we get administrator rights on the robot by doing that. And there's a small editor called Nano. I'll use that. And then we need to find the file. And the file is in a directory called etc. In Linux, all files start with a slash. So this is the root of the system. Any files, anything is in fact in this set, and all the configuration is in the etc folder, or most of it at least. And we need to go to a directory called VPA supplicant, and there's a file called VPA supplicant, and if I spell sufficiently many characters and press the tabulator key, then it will auto-complete the rest. So that's what I do, and this is the file. We'll go into that. to be a root or administrator, you need a password, and it's the same as to log in. That's GRENEN. I'll do that, and now I've got a very small editor. You can see here at the bottom all the control keys that are available to cut and paste and stuff like that. And if we look at, and you need the arrows. You cannot point somewhere and say click. It looks like you are there, but in fact you are not. You have just marked a character. So we're using the arrow keys, and I've got a network here called. It's not called MJE7 on yours, but that's in fact my home access point where we are right now. It's not called 7, it's called 4, but I've moved it away. So what you do, you make a copy of this, and if you stay at the beginning and hold down Shift key, then you can mark an area, and you could say, it says here at the bottom, to cut is Control K, to paste is Control U. So I say Control K, it disappears. I say Control U once and twice. So now I have got a new area where I can make some changes, and I'll change it to a 4. And then I need a password, and the password here in my place is Alfa Romeo. There is ways to make this make a hash instead, and there's a recipe to do that on the page on the course page. Well, not on the course page, on the wiki page that we have for the robot. Here I don't really care. You have to be pretty close to be able to use this access point, and the key management is usually this one. So now I changed it to access our local access point. But you may have noticed that down here we have an SSID called DTU Secure, and that's somewhat more complicated, and that's because the network at DTU is more safe. As a default, the login is in fact a personal login from Jakob, and you're going to change that one of the first days. Otherwise, he could be accused for whatever you do. But you cannot see his password. The password is hashed, and this is replaced with this long number. And there's also a recipe to do that, and Jakob will help you to use that. But right now, I should be okay, and I should be able to, the Raspberry Pi, after a reboot, will try to connect to either of these networks. And it should only find one of them available, and that will be the top one. Now I need to save this, and down here at the bottom it says Control O, which means write out, save it actually. So I press Control O and press Enter and Control X. So now I have changed the configuration, and I need to test it. So I will reboot the computer, and there's another command, sudo reboot now. And now then it should reboot and use the new configurations. And I was thrown out of the net and back to my own PC. So, and you can see on the display here that it turned off, and once it has rebooted, it will turn on again. So we'll wait a little while, and now it starts getting online. It has got the voltage and connections. And now we have got a new IP, because now the IP is from my local network, and my IP, as you saw earlier, using this command. I have now got 2 connections. But you can see here that my IP is in the same series, 192.168.254, and the other one is 2.144. So now I can use this instead, and I can remove the cable. I will remove the cable. It's possible to get in contact with a robot using the IP address on the display. So I will change that. So 192.168.2.144. I'll try again. So now it's green, so I haven't got any cable anymore. So now we are on Wi-Fi, and I can access the robot. So basically, this is how you could do it, some easy steps to do that.